You guys are probably really confused right now, and understandably so. What is this game? Where did I find it? Who made it? Well, let's rewind a little bit. Because now, it's time to talk about MagicMaker. MagicMaker was created by a small dev team titled Tasty Studios, and the head creator, Christopher Hutchinson, wanted to create a game after graduating from DigiPen College. Over the following summer, he began a journey to make a 3D dungeon crawler he personally called Generator Quest. With a dev duo he rounded up, Brian France and Paul Witt, he began to work on a 2D version of the game. Eventually, Nick Pavo joined the party, and his claim to fame was his ability to create music, something nobody else on the team could do. Speaking of Nick Pavo, he was my insider for this video. He gave me some much-needed research material, and my goodness, he was friendly. Gotta admit, I genuinely did not expect a response from him, but thank you, my dude, for helping me out with this, and I do hope I'm pronouncing your last name right. Anyways, I digress. There isn't much more of a story to tell about the MagicMaker development at this point, so let's go back and take a look at the devlogs, which seemed relatively typical. It's the general coding hiccups you'd expect, menus flipping out, music playing when it shouldn't, spell and equipment combinations working improperly, that sort of thing. Although some of these logs are little... You know what? I'll just read off a couple of the greatest bug fixes I've ever heard. Bees no longer travel at light speed and instantly kill the player. Fixed NPCs violently twitching at random. Fixed an issue where the player would violently distort when moving at high speeds. Salamanders now take knockback damage. Removed a curious brown object from the castle vault. And my favorite of all, fixed an issue where the Fairy Queen would eventually reach light speed and cease to exist while in storm conditions. I swear some of these are just as good as the Sims 3 patch notes. Now, I'm pretty bad at transitions, so this may be a bit bumpy. That being said... In MagicMaker, you're put into the wonderful world of work. You're specifically plopped into a magical temp agency so you can pay your rent this month. The temp agency casts a spell on you to decide where you're going to work, and as it turns out, you're assigned to be a security guard for Doorwall Academy. Shortly after, you're cast into the tutorial and promised a job. Assuming you survive the initiation, of course. When you complete the tutorial, which is quite helpful and straightforward, you're sent to your first ever level. Upon beating it, you've completed initiation and you're given a half-hearted congrats from the headmaster, who proceeds to send you out on various missions into different areas of the world, each one randomly generated. After completing a solid amount of them, you're able to do an extra dangerous mission for the headmaster. I don't want to spoil the ending for anyone who will be interested in this game, but I will say that it is hilariously ironic. Now I know what you're thinking. That's all? Why are you spewing positive reviews for this game left and right if that's all there is to it? Well, that's not all there is to it. I haven't gotten into the core gameplay mechanic yet. Your magic. Yeah, it's called MagicMaker for a reason, and the title truly sums up the selling point of the game. Unlike most similar games, you go around the various levels and collect materials instead of gear. You can then mix and match said materials in your gear however you'd like, and sometimes the results can be... well, they can range from hilarious to horrifyingly efficient. Speaking of materials, they have their own unique traits. Specifically, each material has a grade to it. The higher the grade, the more powerful the abilities on the item are. Though I have personally seen some situations where the highest grade isn't really the best option, which for balance purposes and item longevity is quite impeccable. You can even craft materials with elements you find in levels using alchemy in case you want a certain effect that you just don't have yet, or the ones that you currently do have are too weak or too strong. Great, so you got materials, but what do you do with them now? Well, you're given 4 different customizable bits of gear within the game. 2 spells, which require mana to cast, a wand, which is a weaker spell, which is free to cast, unless given a material that says otherwise, and a robe, which gives you passive effects. Materials have different effects depending on if you add them to your robe or onto a spell. Spells in this case including your wand. There are 0 gear-specific materials, and every single one has a different effect depending on if it's put onto a spell or a robe. Some even have a couple bonus effects depending on what other materials you put on your spells. There is one last thing to cover within gameplay, and that's the levels themselves. In each level, there are 4 gems for you to collect. Each one gives you 1 more bonus chest at the end of a level, and collecting all 4 allows you to access a gold chest after beating the bosses that reside at the end of every level, which can actually be fought at any time you can reach their allotted areas. The gold chest houses a handful of artifacts at the beginning of a new game, and as you beat the different difficulties and challenges within all the area's levels, you gain more and more artifacts. These bad boys can give you effects from setting all foes hit by your magic on fire, to gaining an additional mana for each enemy killed until the level is exited, all the way to simply picking up items for you. Artifacts can work in tandem with your robes and magics, creating incredibly powerful or convenient combinations. Or you can add an extra level of difficulty to your run. The choices and combos are truly up to you. I've always been a sucker for games with so much creative freedom, and this game is truly among the best. Speaking of creativity in games, there isn't a game out there with a more unique art style and music combination that I have played than MagicMaker's. The game's art style is described by Nick Pavo as papercraft, sort of collage of simple shapes of varying colors to make a full, detailed image, all seemingly made out of paper or cardboard. This game is given an incredibly unique and polished appearance and atmosphere in this way. It's truly among my favorite art styles in modern media. Bonus points for this game because it's the first game that I've ever found where I could make a genuinely accurate COG appearance. Higher up than the art for me, though, has got to be the music. It truly feels like time and effort went into the soundtrack, whereas many other games have music that's some remix of pre-existing tunes or carbon copies of other games' soundtracks. MagicMaker's music is genuinely intriguing and catchy. More than anything, though, there was clear emotion put into it. Take a listen to this section of an unused track. It's called It's Not Much, but We Call It Home. I can't help but compare it to the music used in Undertale's True Pacifist ending, or music played in Toriel's Home. The instruments are different, but the tone conveyed is the same, as is the emotional charge loaded into the theme itself. Nick Pavo, if you're watching this, I gotta say, heckin' amazing job! Just stupendous! But enough gushing about the appearance. This is a game after all, and I'm sure you're all curious about one of the most important things in games. Difficulty. As I mentioned before, difficulty in each level is really up to the player. In fact, I'd go so far as to say you need to actively look for ways to make the game easier or harder based on which materials you run. It's definitely a game that supports any playstyle. However, in general, the difficulty is what you'd expect from a dungeon crawler/platformer hybrid. Not too difficult. Luckily, fall damage isn't a thing, but having to redo progress definitely is. You can make yourself better at platforming, which makes you sacrifice combat effectiveness, or vice versa. You can make your spells into bullet hells, have a single fatal projectile, or even dash around with a sword and a harmful aura like Trunks. I reiterate, the difficulty and playstyle is up to you. However, if you're looking for a larger overall challenge, then look no further than the post-game. In the post-game of MagicMaker, you're able to create what Tasty Studios has deemed a New Game Plus. A New Game Plus is a way of increasing the difficulty of the game by starting from the beginning without losing any artifacts or materials you've gathered along the way. Enemies get stronger and harder to kill, but you also gain a new material slot in all of your gear. After the first 3 New Game Pluses, it seems as though you can't unlock any new material slots. Seems the maximum is 7. You can stop making New Game Pluses whenever you like, or just stay with a normal game. The choice is yours. Other than that, you just get to collect more materials and futz around with more spells. The world is very much free reign, something that I truly adore about games like Minecraft or Pokemon, a lesser extent for the latter. Your story is your own, and it goes at your pace and your difficulty. Perhaps more important than difficulty is the fun factor, and I wouldn't be making this video if I didn't find this game incredibly fun. The countless ways to clown around, the insane number of playstyles available, the charmingly simple story, and the various visual choices, they all tie together to make a lovable, gorgeous experience. The movement looks and feels fluid, the spell slinging is fun as heck, and it truly feels like you're a maker of magics. To wrap things up, MagicMaker is a game that clearly had a lot of thought and effort poured into it. The gameplay flow, the comedic moments, the personality given by the devs, and the creativity open to the player. Of all the games I've played up till the end of 2020, on or off this channel, MagicMaker has got to be my favorite by far. I want to thank Nick Pavo again for being such a nice dude to talk to, and for the excellent info he found me, and I want to thank all of you for watching this video. Sorry if it wasn't as comedic as most of my other vids, but I wanted this to be a sort of homage to one of my all-time favorite games. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and ding-dong the ring-rong to stay tuned. Thank you guys yet again, y'all are beautiful people. You guys are amazing and should feel amazing, and we will see all of y'all in the next video. Yeah!